What's up, YouTubers? No flicking today. We're going to be reviewing the Case Knives Basket Weave Merlot Medium Stockman. This is, yes, a more traditional pocket knife without all the modern stuff on it. It's a slip joint. It doesn't have a pocket clip, no lanyard hole. There's no disassembly. This thing's peened together. So, yeah, that'll obviously be part of it. This particular knife sports 3 blades. I'll go ahead and start with the first one, which I think is the star of the show, and that's the sheep's foot. This one is 1.85 inches, and I used it primarily as a box opener. Worked very well for that. Then they have a spay blade, which is kind of this rounded tip, but it is kind of sharp on the end. I didn't find much use for this one that the other ones did not meet, other than for, I hate to say this, but to basically clean out underneath fingernails. That kind of works out really well because it's not really pokey, and it worked really nice for that. So as far as that goes, it worked very well. And then the last blade on this one is the clip point, which is the longest of the blades. The spay blade was 1.71 inches. And then the last one is the clip point, which is 2.53 inches. And I use this one primarily as a letter opener. Really, the sheep's foot, I thought, did most all of the uses that I had for this knife. It was really good. All 3 blades of this one are made with the Case's True Sharp surgical steel, and I found it wasn't that crappy from the outset. So in that sense, it's neither a pro nor a con. You won't hear about it again after this, but I found that it was relatively reasonable. And the good thing about this is if you dull one of these blades using it, and you don't have a chance to run it through a sharpener, well, you can just go ahead and run to one of the other blades. So you have, let's say you get 70 decent cuts out of this, or maybe 50 decent cuts. Well, you can multiply that times 3 if for a general daily use. So in that sense, yeah, it's not a super sexy steel, not the greatest edge retention, but this will get you by for quite a while. So in that sense, it's really good. This particular knife has some beautiful brass liners. Mine are starting to patina really well. Oh, by the way, the use case on this knife was for me, use case, get it, was that I use this basically as a secondary pocket knife because when I'm carrying various other things that freak some people out, like the current carry is the one that I found that when you pull out one of these in front of a general population, an OTF, they don't really like that. Take kindly too well. People that are not knife people. So it's always nice to have this just floating in the bottom of your pocket. Pull this out. This is not going to offend anybody. So that was kind of the use case for this one. Along with the brass liners, it has some really beautiful nickel bolsters on each side. It's all smoothed out really nicely. It's developed kind of a nice scratch pattern as it just floated in the pocket for, oh gosh, this is about 6 months. This served as my secondary. And the bone scales on this thing are in a weave pattern, and it literally does kind of look like a basket weave. And they're dyed a marvelous purple Merlot, which has kind of a comparison color. I'll go ahead and bring in the closest thing that I had in my collection, which is some burgundy dyed. This is the Civivi button lock Elementum, and I went ahead and dyed those burgundy. So it's kind of close. You see the little bit lighter color, so a little bit less on the red side and a little bit more on the purplish side. So that's kind of the coloring on this one. This knife weighs in at 2.3 ounces, so I consider this actually an ultralight, which was quite surprising because it's a very dense little thing. But yeah, very light at that thing. It prices at $85 regularly. This is one of those that I watched on Smoky Mountain Knife Works, their flash sales, and I just waited for it to come down because I know that they run through a lot of their slip joints, and I found this one for like $69. So you get like $16 off, and for that price, I thought it was actually a very good deal, USA made. $85, not questionable. I think it's still a fair price, honestly, for what you get in the craftsmanship on this one. So as far as like options in my collection, I'll go ahead and pull this blade out. I don't have a whole lot of slip joints, but in terms of some options that you might get, for me, I actually have, I'll just go ahead and pull out one of the blades. This is the new Remington 2021 Trapper. And that's the reason that this one is now getting ejected as my secondary knife, because I want to go ahead and carry that one for a while. Have been kind of excited to. That one, of course, is the Great Eastern Cutlery produced one. That one goes for about $170. Other options are in my collection the Real Steel Luna. This one is in carbon fiber, and this one runs about, I think, $85 normally, but again, you can wait for some sales. I don't know the availability of this one. It's been some time since I bought that, but that's a good old slip joint with a little bit more of your kind of modern accoutrements included on that one. Definitely an option in there. And then, you know, I think it's very fair also, just, again, not multi-knives, and this is a multi-tool, but if you're just looking for a slip joint knife, we'll go ahead and clean that one off. But this is the Victorinox Farmer, and so I think that's also, you know, in that kind of range of blades there, slip joint, and that one goes for like $45, I want to say. So this is the Cutlery Shop special one. So those might be some options in terms of if you're looking for some slip joint action out there. There's not a whole lot of action, of course. It's really not about the action. It's really just about the traditional carry and the usefulness of it without, you know, without upsetting people and so forth and laws, that sort of thing. So the pros on this knife, I actually found that all three blades are hollow ground, and that was very useful. Again, I'll bring out the star of the show, which for me was the sheep's foot. The hollow grind on these things and then the nice polish on them makes them all so thin so that even when you do burn through that sharp edge, and the great thing, by the way, is that they're very fast to sharpen. Having an edge that doesn't maintain an edge too long, you can just run this through a sharp maker very quickly, and like you can do all three blades in like about 3 minutes and you're basically done. So in that sense, it's good at kind of jumping ahead on one of those. But the hollow grind on all of these is fantastic. So that when you do burn through that really sharp edge, it still continues to work for most purposes. And so, yeah, I mean, very, very thin behind the edge there. Nice thing. Really, there's no intimidation factor here, and it's really, I think, legal in just about every place on Earth. You know, no locking blades, no single-handed action. So I think you could probably take this most of Europe. I will say that 2.5-inch clip point blade might go over some places, like crazy California, I think, and it is literally just over 2.5 inches. I mentioned that thing 3 times. So that could be a problem, but, you know, at 2.53 inches, it's going to be legal almost anywhere. So that's definitely one of the good things, I think. This is very tiny. This is, you know, for 3 blades, putting this and burying this in your pocket, it literally just kind of disappears, hangs next to a wallet, but underneath the wallet, next to keys. It just floats around really nicely. It also fits in the 5th pocket really well, I found in jeans. It's very durable. This thing did live with keys. It lived with little flashlights, chapsticks, wallets, sometimes banging against my primary carry knife. Very durable, this knife. I will say about every 3 months, you have to pretty much blow this out. I don't know, I may or may not be able to see all the lint that I have in there, but about every 3 months it picks up a fair bit of pocket lint. You want to go ahead and blow that out with some air, drop a couple drops of oil, you know, on the end there, and then maybe on the inside where the back of the thing is going to be running against those the slip joint basically springs back here. So that's one of those things. A lot of positives going for this thing. On the con side, of course, I already talked about it. It's missing the modern accoutrements of you know, the knives that a lot of us are used to carrying. There's no flipping on this. There's not a whole lot of fidgeting. There's not any maintenance other than just, you know, clean it out and oil it. You're not going to be disassembling this knife. There's no pocket clip. So you're going to be missing all those things. Kind of a con against it, but really if you kind of know what you're stepping into on this one, it's really not a problem. It just, you know, kind of a little con. The blade snap rubs, that's one thing that I do find a big problem. I won't say I abuse knives, but I don't spend a lot of time putting them back very gently. I pretty much snap them back. I mean, each blade I basically snap back. And what I will say is in that process, the way that they fit in the 3 blades, you can see that there's a little cant there on the sheep's foot and it goes across. And so as a result, what you do end up with, let me go ahead and wipe these off so you can see them a little bit better, is you end up with these little nick marks. You see that little nick right there? Yeah, that nick mark is a result of the sheep's foot blade coming down and basically being snapped into place, and it just literally rubs against that one. And then the sheep's foot, it also has a nice little rub on it from the clip point. So you can see that nice little scratch there, and that comes from snapping in the spay blade. So as you snap the spay blade in, it literally rubs right against that blade there. And then likewise, you're going to get the same thing with the spay blade. It's going to pick up some rubbing against the sheep's foot there. So, you know, what it does is it just kind of mucks with the polish just the slightest bit. I don't really worry about it. You know, the first few times I snapped it and I saw it, I was like, oh no. But after you just kind of use this thing for, you know, 3 to 6 months, you don't care. It's just, it's part of the, it's part of its character at that point in time. The tiny nature and the smooth surfaces on this thing does tend to cause it to fall out of your pocket. When you're laying on a couch, sitting on a recliner, or something like that, laying on the bed, it's just very, very smooth and it just kind of slides right out. So you got to be careful. You will lose this blade. Just go back and look at the last place that you kind of lied down. Obviously, sitting in a chair, not a problem, but if you're lying down, it definitely will slide its way out. And there's no half stops on this. I do prefer half stops, or actually, so again, it's just part of when you're putting it away. I kind of like to have that little stop snap there. You can reorient your hands and then put it back. And actually, the one that I'm just absolutely admire is actually a 40% stop on this Real Steel Luna. So when you close this one, it actually stops even before the 50% mark. So it's about a 40% stop, and then it closes. That's one of those things I do think would make this one a much classier and much better, I think, in the modern era. Overall, what would I say is, you know, this is a great secondary knife. You know, you can just, to have on hand, like I said before, you have 3 blades, so you can kind of burn through the extra sharpness on any one of those 2 sharp blades, which are very stainless, by the way. One of the pros of this knife, it's not going to really rust on you. And but you have 3 knives, so when one gets totally dull, you can go to one of the other ones, and it'll function. You know, the one last thing I did want to point out, why the sheep's foot is the star of this is I specifically cut my nails before I did this review to see how hard it was to access all of these nail nicks in here. And the 2 on the outside, the clip point and the spay, were kind of a pain in the ass. You really needed to keep at least one solid fingernail to really, or thumbnail, to reach into those. But the great thing is on that sheep's foot, you don't even need that. You can just pinch that thing out with just fingers. Don't even have to put super pressure. It's that's why that one got used literally like 4 times more than the other ones. But to finish up, this is really it's a very good secondary knife, very light. You literally barely know it's in your pocket. You got to watch out so you don't lose it. But yeah, if you want something more traditional, something that's not going to scare anybody, and maybe a good first pocket knife, I don't know, for a kid or something like that, you know, who's of course a proper age for the parents, this would be a very good knife. I really do think it's got great use, utility, and you know, I think it's kind of beautiful. So hope you did enjoy this. If you did, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and have a great day. Take care now.